Welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. We're fresh from our vacation. I know it's been a while. We got some complaints, but hey, we were vacationing down in Tampa for the NFL kickoff. And we're recharged. We have a lot of things that we want to talk about. And hopefully this podcast doesn't go 2 hours because it'd be a late night for us. But Big Meat, are you relaxed and refreshed? Is that the most important thing?
I don't know if refreshed is the right word for it. I feel like I'm more tired now than I was before our quote unquote vacation. Like you've talked about it, and same with me. Since coming back, it's taken me a few days to get going here, and I feel like I'm just tired now. Like today, I feel like I'm back into the regular routine again. But yeah, just going down to Tampa, that's took a lot out of us. I wish I could say my batteries are recharged, but not so much.
Yeah, it's sad when you feel like you need like 3-4 days of extra vacation time if you're gonna do a guy's weekend because it takes a
Yeah.
lot out of you. It really does. It was draining,
Hmm.
but it was a great time.
It was
A great
fun.
time,
I think it was
and
the humidity down there too. That like we were just, I mean, it's still considered summertime for us here, but it's not like that humid here anymore, right? So we go down there and you're like, oh boy, you're walking around and it's hot, tired. I mean, it's just then you come back and you're like, the temperature's all screwing you up. So,
well,
but it was
I like to pretend it was a humidity. I think it was the marathon drinking, and I gotta say, because we always kept on saying, well, what would you drink if you had a marathon drink? What would you do? And I stuck to it. I did gin and tonics almost the entire weekend, and it just like what we theorized. It actually, I was able to last a lot longer for someone who doesn't power drink all the time. I got to hang as long as I possibly could because I
Mhm.
didn't go beer. Because and I think you had that one beer, or you started drinking beer one of those nights, and you were feeling gross.
I
Like
drank a lot. I drank a lot more beer than I had anticipated for
yeah.
sure. Because I just think it was easier, right? You just grab a beer instead of ordering something else,
Well,
and
that
you're
was
at a
the night of the
bar all the
football
time.
game. At the football game was the harder. You had to drink beer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Pretty much, pretty much. It was beer pretty much all day,
yeah.
all day and night.
Oh,
Yeah,
except for a Smirnoff Smash, because that's what you
that's
think
right.
of when you send a group of guys to the liquor store. What do you come back with? Giant
It was
24-ounce
refreshing
cans.
though. It was refreshing, and I came out with cups of ice,
You
and the
did?
ice was just like that. Was just that did it. That for me, that was like, oh, it was like I felt refreshed. I was ready to go back in the game. So
Yeah,
I was
we laughed.
thinking of you guys. Not of
Oh,
your heartburn, but I was thinking of you guys. Of
luckily
your
the two old guys in the group didn't get heartburn, and the two younger guys were fighting through it.
that
But
is true.
but we did learn a trick from R3 that just wash it down with the 24-ounce Mick Ultra and makes the heartburn go away.
That's
So
right.
that's we did learn a little.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah, there was some wisdom shared. Or there was, well, I want to say words of wisdom, but there wasn't a lot of wisdom that weekend from some of us. But but I gotta say that I've never seen those smashes before. So, but they were really good. I gotta say they were a nice change of pace. They were tasty.
Well, the only reason why we got them is because they only had three twisted teas left. So we said, all right, give us those three, and then give us those two Smirnoff Smashes that are right next to them.
I
So
enjoyed it. I
we
enjoyed it.
took care of the Uber driver.
We did.
He wanted one too. We said, here, you can have one. He said, great.
Yeah.
Saved it for later.
Yeah.
And then we drank back those delicious twisted teas and Smirnoff Smashes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did come home craving a drink that we were having at that Irish bar, the cucumber mint gimlets.
Oh yeah.
Mint gimlets.
I gave you a hard time for those. Though it wasn't bad. It was
They
not bad.
they were refreshing on a hot day,
It
weren't they?
was. It was. I just, but by the time I ordered it, they didn't put all the crap that's floating around in there. You had a bunch of stuff floating. You
Yeah.
had like mint leaves and like also it looked green. I don't know what the hell was in there.
So the guy put a salad.
It's literally a salad.
The morning bartender put a salad. So I don't know if he felt like, geez, I better like put a lot of stuff to help these guys because they started drinking at 11 o'clock. But when we went back later that night, when we were bouncing around, we came back. The new bartender made it cleaner. So I did like
Yeah.
it cleaner because I don't know what he was doing. Like,
Yeah, I remember the cucumbers. I remember on the cleaner drink when I ordered it. Yeah, you had the couple of slices of cucumber on the top. But when you ordered it, were they sliced on top of the glass,
No,
or was it like muddled inside
just
the drink?
chopped. He chopped a
Yeah,
whole cucumber into my drink.
it was a salad. It was like
Yeah.
you didn't have to have dinner. It was just like I already
No,
had my salad. It was my
I was
drink.
actually scooping some of the cucumber with the straw because for some weird,
Yeah,
he was saying there was someone cleaning the kitchen, but we know there was a health inspector,
yeah, that's right.
that was inspecting the
Uh,
place, so chasing the rats or the giant cockroaches out of there that we were seeing down in, or they were catching the live chickens that were walking around Ybor City.
Probably, yeah. They probably have a quota like every morning, right? They catch a couple chickens to like make sure they fry them up for the day, and they just
Yeah,
couldn't find any chickens that morning.
yeah,
You know, maybe it was one of our guys who was chasing them around, scaring them away from the night before.
they're still in hiding. They're still in hiding from the night
But
before.
you could have just ordered a side of grilled chicken, and then you would had your grilled chicken salad. You would have been set. I'll order that gimlet and just a couple pieces of grilled chicken, and I'm good to go.
Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a Greek dish, isn't it? Cucumber, mint, and feta. Isn't that a dish I could have probably made with the rest of the stuff that was left
It
behind in
is.
my gimlet?
That's and well, you add
A
a
little
tomato
yogurt.
as well, and you're
Oh, tomato. Okay.
basically, oh, that's basically like a traditional Greek salad, like a village salad, right? Like if you go to Greece and you order a Greek salad, they're not bringing lettuce and all the other stuff that you normally would see here. It's just tomato, cucumber, maybe a couple of onions and feta, and that's it. And then drizzled with olive oil, and that's it. That's basically your Greek
So
salad. That's basically what I think you drink.
I just need a feta. I just need
Yeah.
to dump my glass, put it with a bowl and some feta, and I would have had a meal. I should have asked. Anyways, so it was a good time. I think for the people listening, the biggest takeaway, and I think you and I talked about it in the stadium, and we talked about it a little bit back home, is I can't believe the energy at Tampa Stadium at
Mm,
Raymond James Stadium.
Raymond James, yeah.
Well, Raymond James, but they didn't get sponsored out. That stadium, like the party that they do before, like that little beach area with the DJ, the loud music. So you walk in, there's this high energy atmosphere.
Hmm.
People partying. They weren't the cheerleaders, but they had staff like dressed like Tampa
Yeah,
Pirates
yeah.
and
I
stuff
remember
walking
like
around.
hula girls. Like they had
Yeah,
girls with hula hoops and like I don't know,
yeah.
they were doing like a little show or whatever. And
Yeah, they
yeah,
had all of these things, and they weren't like sponsored things like when you see a Gillette, where you see, oh, sponsor X is doing this, sponsor X is, or this guy's doing that. These are all legitimately from the stadium, and I thought it was so much better than anything I experienced, even with all like going into the playoff atmosphere of Gillette. I've never felt that much energy and fun going into a game, and we tailgate all the time at Gillette. So you're tailgating, you're already half in the bag and go like, so it's not, oh, you were more drunk in Tampa. No, I've been drunk walking into the stadium at Gillette.
hmm,
There's something about Tampa, the pirate ship. They had the people throwing beads like that. It was just
it
a party
was.
atmosphere, and it was funny because I was listening to 98.5, and they were talking about how quiet Gillette was week one, and you were there, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Was it quiet? Like,
quiet. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was actually kind of lame, to be honest. I remember walking out of there or getting there and you think they were going to do something big. And now, of course, this was, a few days after we went to the Tampa game, right? So like my energy level was high just from that game. And then you go to Gillette, it's like, all right, first time they have like stands, the people in the stands for a regular season game, and you think they're going to welcome back the fans, do something big. It was just like big time disappointment, big lame. It was quiet. Like the seats were empty. The seats didn't really start filling up until like after kickoff, where I don't remember that ever happening. I remember like everyone's in their seats, they're ready to go, and like people just were like, whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
I agree with you though. Like that Tampa, the stadium there, Raymond James, it's like it was high energy. I don't know if it has something to do with just because it's Florida, and it's just I don't know. I mean, Buccaneers, right? You think pirate ship, you think, they had the beach theme and all that, and it's all kind of fun and high energy. You're down in Florida. You can't really do that here, up here in New England, but they could do something. They could do something that's a little bit more entertaining and fun for the fans. Um, yeah, it's too bad too because it seems like the Patriots they run things like they run their team, right? Everything's all business, right? Like, you can't say anything to the media. Belichick runs a tight ship there, right? And I feel like it kind of relates to that, to the fan experience outside and inside the stadium as well. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I, I even like the basic things, like they gave out flags in every chair, right? And unlike Gillette, like everything Gillette does, it's a sponsorship, right? So even if they give you a towel, it's not by, it's like it's a Patriot, quote or something, but it's sponsored by Bud Light or sponsored by
Right.
X Ford or whatever. I mean, these flags had no sponsorship. They were actually given by the stadium. So I'm like, man, like, has Gillette ever done, like, what have they given their fans? Even like when we've gone on championship weekends or the opening games after winning a Super Bowl, I don't remember getting anything.
Yeah.
Like just to celebrate. And like, what do they give it? Like my brother went to the game. He said they gave me a stupid plastic cup.
Oh, it's awful. It was awful.
Like,
They were giving these cups out. And this was something one of the guys on our text thread said, oh, they're going to give out like these blinking cups and they're going to light up during the game. And I said, oh, that's going to be cool, whatever. And you walk up and you get these cups, and I'm like, these things aren't lighting up. This is just a cheap plastic little cup that's like you said, it was sponsored by Bud Light. So there was a moment during one of the timeouts where Patrick Chung, of all people, came on the video board, the scoreboard, or the on the jumbotron there, and he came out, and now he's retired, right? He doesn't play for the Patriots anymore, and he's coming out, and he's like, "All right, everybody raise your cup." To celebrate the return of NFL football at Gillette Stadium, and people were looking at it like I looked around. It was probably like, I mean, I think I might have counted like 5 people around me that actually like held up the cup. It was so lame, and it was just the way he held it up. He put the Bud Light in front of it, so it was all like sponsor related. It had nothing to do with anything other than just make a lot of money, from Bud Light, and that's it.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is if you're a fan. And again, the Gillette experience, watching the Pats, that's obviously, you're still going to do it.
Yeah.
I would just say, if you get a chance to go to another stadium, do it. Like, I think, you don't appreciate how shortchanged you are in New England. And I always feel like that way about the Red Sox. Like, people love Fenway, but once you go to other nice stadiums, you're like, man, you guys don't know how bad we have it. Like, the new stadiums are amazing. And then we go into Fenway and you're cramped and everything's kind of gross and there's nothing in the concessions, either chicken fingers. And I'm like, man, I've gone to some stadiums that are so much nicer than this, and they serve so much better food, and the experience is so much better than the crammed Fenway experience. And it's like, dude, it's not the 30s. Let's move on. Like, but people want to hold on to it. And I just don't know why. Like, why can't they just build something on the waterfront? Like,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
But again, we settle because they don't know, and there is a lot better out there than what we settle for. So,
if it was up to me, right? I mean, I know like the hardcore right Fenway fans that usually like the all the old people that used to go way back in like the 40s and 50s, and they're like, oh, it's Fenway. It's it's a historic place. Like it's got the charm and it's got all. It's like no. If it was up to me, blow it up, and build a new one, because out with the old and in with the new. Because I've been to other stadiums. I've been to the one in Toronto. I've been to New York. Been to Baltimore. Like I've been to the Chicago White Sox stadium where they play. All those stadiums, in terms of just the experience, was way better than Fenway.
Yeah, I just think even where the area it's at, it's not the best area of Boston. I mean, they can put it somewhere, even if it's outside of Boston. I mean, there's so many great places I can think of, like along the bay or something like that would be so much better. Like I think of like, but again, I mean, we're going on a little tangent here, just on my moral of the story. Again, just keep going back. I know that people love Fenway, they love Gillette. Oh, go somewhere else, man. Make a trip, make a special trip out of it. I'm telling you, it's worth your money. And then the NFL experience of an opening day of kicking off the season. Holy crap, that was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Like, it's something I would love to do again. I wish I took advantage of it when the Patriots were.
When it was here, those times.
I'm so mad at myself.
We didn't go.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but it was actually a fun experience. So shame on us, but hopefully with Mac Jones at the helm, hopefully we'll get another chance.
The only thing that would have made it better, Azar, is if you had a chance to meet your boy, Mike Allstott. He was there. He was there. We
got there too late. We got there too late, unfortunately.
And you had an all-star jersey on and everything, and it just would have been like, it would have been perfect. But
I would have fainted. I would have. And at the end of the night, I think it was Simeon Rice was there, and I think it was R3 was like, "Hey, do you want to go see?" And I'm like, "Simeon Rice."
Vernon Davis.
Yeah, and when Vernon Davis is there, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all set."
But it's like whatever. Yeah.
Because even they had Derek Brooks, like before All-Star. I'm like, I would have loved to see him. Like, anyways, hey, I missed it. But there was something to kind of get back on track for the podcast. Because we spent a lot of time at this Irish bar for some weird reason. It seemed to be our go-to place because it wasn't the block next door or the hotel. It's where we seem to have lunch and start all our drinking festivities. But I never tried flavored ciders. I've always had just regular Angry Orchard ciders, like either crisp or extra dry. There's different. I didn't know they actually made flavored dry ciders. And this place had 3 of them on tap. So when I came back home, I didn't find the brands that they were selling down in Tampa, but they sell these multi-packs of this brand called Down East. They're unfiltered, and they have a blackberry cider. There's a pear cider, and then they have their original cider and these multi-packs, but they have different multi-packs. I got to say, they are delicious. I love it. I love ciders in the fall because I don't know, it's apple picking season, whatever it is, but I get into this kind of like cider mode. And so if you never tried it, Blackberry Down East is really tasty. So I definitely give it a whirl. And I think our sidekick there from Tampa sent a picture. They actually have an apple cider donut flavor that must be like cinnamon sugar type of flavoring. So I haven't seen it. So if I can get my hands on that, I'd love to try that because that feels like it's got more of the fall beer, like that pumpkin flavor type of thing going on. So I'm excited about that. I had a Shipyard yesterday on tap. Yeah, I don't like Shipyard. I think I've lost my taste for Shipyard. I think I like the Jack O's or the Sam Adams versions better now. I've kind of moved away from Shipyard, but anyways, I agree. Another tangent. We're going from cider to pumpkin beer, but I know this is the type of time of year we try pumpkin beers, but there's nothing really out I haven't found one new to sample. I gotta go start looking now that's that time of year.
No, I haven't. We did the pumpkin ale testing last year, or maybe the year before that. And Shipyard was always the standard for a while, but I like the Jacko. That's Sam Adams, right? Sam Adams, Jacko. Yeah, I don't know. They just have a more of a flavor to it, I think. I mean, Shipyard's still good for me, but I still, if I had to choose between the two, Jacko's my favorite. But we should mention, I know we talked a little bit about it when we were down in Tampa. It's not like, you could probably order this anywhere, but it's probably worth mentioning. They had a pumpkin ale at the Tampa Bay Brewing Company there while we were down there. It's called Gourd's Gone Wild. And it was I thought it was delicious. It was really good. It did have a little bit of a vanilla flavor to it as well. So that was excellent. If anybody's in the Tampa area, they probably serve it at a lot of bars nearby there. I'm sure it's not the only place you could order it, but I don't remember ever hearing about it or seeing it anywhere. But if anybody is listening and have heard of Gourd's Gone Wild Pumpkin Ale, send us an email, azarandthemeat@gmail.com or tweet us at azarandthemeat and let us know where we could find it.
Yeah, it's a shame because I wish we could have brought it on the plane because you could have bought a 4-pack and brought it home with you. But there's no way you got it through security because it was a liquid. So it's just, I wish there was a way. So
I didn't even know what a gourd is, right? Do you know what a gourd is? So I had to look this up.
Yeah, pumpkins, it's a family of.
Yeah, I didn't know what a gourd was. I had to look it up. So I said, okay, that makes sense. Gourd's Gone Wild. And I said, it's got to have something to do with the pumpkin, right? But I didn't know that was like what the family of that was called. So interesting to know.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm glad you learned something.
I did. See, I told you we learned something down in Tampa.
Yeah. And I gotta say, out of the fall pumpkin flavored beers, that was one of the better ones I've had, and I think it was because it had that hint of vanilla in it. It was just so different that than some of the other ones we had, because all of them have that like ginger, cinnamon, spice type of pumpkin spice type of flavoring. But the hint of vanilla was very clear in this one. And it was tasty. So yeah, I wish there was a way to get some back home, but we'll figure it out. So I know I think our third man, who's not with us tonight, unfortunately, I think he might still have daddy duties today, but I think he's got a relative down there. I wonder if we can figure out a way to get her to smuggle us some
That's true.
some stuff up here.
Keep it cold. Yeah. Right? Just keep it cold as it comes out. How can you put it on ice? Make sure it's cold by the time we get it.
Well, you know what? I know our third man gets these random pink hats and gifts from Tampa from somebody down there. So as we're on the podcast, well, if who's ever making these crazy arrangements and sending them pink hats and pink aprons with Tampa Bay Buccaneers logos all over it, can you please stop at the Tampa Bay Brewing Company, put it in the same FedEx box, and please ship it too, and just say "To Big Meat in Azar."
There you go.
And Jarvis, you keep the pink hat, because I think he burned his last one. So hopefully, who's ever that little spy is out there that's torturing our third man, maybe they can hook us up.
and I did take a picture of the on the menu of this Gourds Gone Wild thing, and I just want to read this off to you because it reminds me of something that of Fathead. Fathead would write. Is that his nickname? He has a few nicknames.
He does have a few. We call him Super Spreader.
Super Spreader. Yeah. But he tends to write these he's a food influencer, right? So he likes to kind of take pictures of his food and then give it this really fancy description. So I'm going to read this reads something like he would write. Ready? Our acclaimed fall seasonal pumpkin spice ale, deep amber in color with a solid malty backbone for our famous pumpkin pie spice, which provides aromas of nutmeg, cloves, and vanilla, and roasted pecans. So it's something that it's as if he wrote it himself.
That is something. You know what? Hopefully it inspires him next time he makes an egg sandwich. He'll use such colorful words like that.
Of course.
So anyway, so we talked about the flavored beers. That's our drink. If you're into ciders, definitely go. I think I see them at Market Basket. Definitely see these at Hannaford. So the brand Down East, unfiltered. I see those a lot in the Hannaford. So if you're trying to figure out where to get it, that's where I can definitely tell you can find it. And that's about it, Big Meat. We mentioned the salad gimlet and our cider. I think it's time to move on to entertainment. So there's a lot of exciting things coming down. We did not get to watch Shang-Chi because we went on our trip. So we never took advantage of that. But we'll give you guys a review on that as soon as we get to watch it, because I'm sure there's going to be some things that are tied to the MCU we'll try to fill everybody in on. The only problem is my expectation has been set lower because Mr. Roper gave it a positive review. And once Mr. Roper gives anything a positive review, I have to second guess, is it going to be good or not anymore? So let's jump into the upcoming movie that I'm excited about. Well, there's a bunch of them coming out because I think James Bond is coming up. But let's just stay into the science fiction, like Marvel type of world. So Venom is coming out. The sequel to the Venom movie is coming out on October 15th. And we were talking about before the podcast. I'm actually excited about this because of the rumors that there's a potential tie-in into the MCU. Because right now Venom is owned by Sony. And is there a possibility that eventually this movie will be tied in to Spider-Man at some point? Because Venom is such a big villain to the Spider-Man universe. They got to find a way to get him from Sony and tie all these things back in. So I don't know about your thoughts about Big Meat, but that's the most enticing thing that I'm so excited about this movie. Yeah. Just to see if there is a way to, one of the end credits or something, do they tie it back in to Spider-Man?
It might be, I don't know if it might be, I mean, that would be a big surprise if they did. It might be a little bit too soon if they did that. Unless they're already in negotiations to do something there, which would be great. But if not in this movie, I'm sure in time they will. They almost have to. Like they almost, I mean, now they could kind of get away with it with this multiverse, because for years people kept talking about certain characters, and it's like, okay, well, when they have the rights to the X-Men, how do you just all of a sudden introduce the X-Men like as if they've been around the whole time? It just doesn't make sense. Or Fantastic Four or whatever. And this kind of makes sense now. Like you can tie this in because there's a multiverse. So I think if they did that with this character, it would be great. And with this Venom sequel, it's Carnage, right? Carnage is another big character in with Spider-Man as well. So it would be great. It would be great. I don't anticipate it's going to happen this time around, but I think down the road, I think they will.
So, Fandango, I'm sorry, I just wanted to correct. I said October 15th, but they're saying it's in theaters October 1st. So I'm not sure. I've seen it both, but hey, if it's October 1st, which is, boy, that's coming up fast, or October 15th, either way, I'm still excited about this movie. It's about an hour and a half long movie. That's actually pretty short for modern movies that are like usually 2.5 hours. So it must be a quick hit of a movie. But I think Woody Harrelson, isn't he playing Carnage? If I recall the ending of the first one.
He is. Yeah, he is. I see release date October 15th. So unless they moved up the date, which they have done that before with other movies.
Like I said, I'm looking at Fandango, so I don't know what that means. Maybe you can buy.
Oh, yeah. So it says now. So just on Twitter 7 hours ago, exclusively in movie theaters October 1st. So it looks like they moved it up.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, because one thing says October 15th that I was looking at. Okay, so that's
Do you think is it exclusive in movie theaters October 1st, but October 15th you could watch it?
Well, which platform would stream it?
I don't know.
It's not a Disney, and it's not an HBO Max Warner Brothers, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Mixed dates here, but I think it's more about just it was originally the 15th, and then now they just recently introduced that they moved it up to the 1st. That's what I think, and I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
but anyway,
but I like the first one. It's kind of underrated. No one really talks about that Venom movie, but I thought it was a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were talking about it. I think the nice thing, like even when the Spider-Man movie comes out this winter, they do definitely have the coolest villains out of the whole MCU universe. Like their villains, Spider-Man's villains are always like the coolest villains. So I can't wait. Hopefully Disney and Sony can come to agreements and they can get access and start introducing Venom, Carnage into the MCU with Spider-Man. Because what was that cheesy villain from Spider-Man 2? That freaking what the hell is that guy? What was that? I didn't like Spider-Man 2 with that.
You're probably thinking of 3 because 2 was good. Not with Doc Ock, right?
No. I'm talking Spider-Man 2. No, I'm talking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man 2. They had this cheesy character.
Mysterio.
Mysterio. Yeah. That like what a lame out of all the villains. I remember watching that. I'm like, that's the best we got.
I thought he was good. I thought he was pretty good. I don't know. No, he's a villain. He's a villain in the Spider-Man. I don't know if he's specifically Spider-Man or Marvel Avengers world, but I don't know. I thought he was pretty good in it. You didn't like him?
Yeah, he's kind of cheesy. I didn't like him. Yeah. I liked Michael Keaton as the Vulture in the first one. I liked that. That was a good one.
He was good.
The second one I thought was kind of cheesy. He was like just as cheesy as the villain in the third Iron Man. I thought they were equivalent. Like they were just as cheesy, the power hungry. Like I was like, I don't know. I just don't get it. But anyways, Big Meat. I have nothing else on Venom and Carnage. I'm just excited to watch it. But you said you wanted to talk about that What If show, just to share some. You got a chance to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're about 6 episodes in now. They're the animated, they call them What If on Disney Plus. And so they are canon, right? So they're saying it's part of the universe, even though they're animated. They're quick, 30, 35-minute episodes. But it plays into the whole multiverse. It's all about like, okay, during parts of the Marvel movies, if something changes, and it goes down a whole different timeline, what ends up happening to all these characters. And I got to say, some of them are dark as hell, like really dark, to the point where it's like they don't even have a happy ending. like they have like sad, like depressing endings on
Oh
some
my
of them.
God, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's to the point where it's like there's like a lot of people die in them. Um, I remember the first one was where Agent Peggy Carter was the one that ended up turning into like Captain America.
Oh, I remember that. I saw
And
that commercial for that. Yep.
yeah, and it was a good episode, but that wasn't as dark. Like if you watch that episode, you're gonna say like, oh, it's not as dark as what Meat is saying, you know. So the second one was a little bit like meh. The third, fourth, fifth, and even sixth episodes, like all four of those last episodes, they were all dark, like every one of them. So
Hmm.
so stay with it. If you watch the first episode, get through the second episode, which I thought was the worst of them all. Then after that, it really gets dark. But it's kind of neat how they go back to scenes of the Marvel movies and they replay those scenes in animated form. You know what I mean? And then like towards the end of the scene, it branches out like something else ends up happening that doesn't happen in the movie. It's because of that, and that's where it all kind of changes. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat how they do it. They're very good. I'm not a big fan of what they do with some of the characters in them. I think they kind of don't do them justice. But what is neat about it is that most of the actors that have played those roles have come back to do those voiceover work, that voiceover work. Not
Oh,
every one of
nice.
them, not every one, but most of them. Most of them have come back. Like even the guy that played Black Panther. Before he died, he came back. That's his voice that plays like Black Panther in the animated show. Like
Oh, you know what? I was
he does
wondering
the
if
voiceover.
I thought they found someone they cast that did a really good job because I remember seeing the commercials on Disney Plus. You know how they sometimes you get these previews that play,
Yeah,
and they had Black Panther's voice, and I'm like, did they find someone that good
yeah,
that could
yeah.
almost
No, it's
copy his
it's
voice?
it's it's Chadwick
Wow.
Boseman doing that guy. It's the guy that plays the Michael B. Jordan guy that plays Killmonger. He does that voice. There's a lot of them. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. came back to do the Iron Man voice, and there's a few others. But if you look at the credits, like all the actors, there was probably like I don't know, 15, 20 actors that came back to do like the voiceover work. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah,
I like
it's
it.
kind of neat. It's kind of neat. Yeah, it's definitely they're like I said, they're quick and they're worth to watch, and the animation is great, and some of them have really great action. So yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's only 9 episodes, so there's only 3 more left, and we're 6 in right now.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news. I have to sit and watch those. I just finished the 3 series of the Transformers, the things that I've been telling you guys about, and they were dark and they were really good. They were really well done. So I'm actually hoping they do a 4th season of it because I actually enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Sadly, I couldn't get my kids to watch it, but hey, I enjoyed it. Who cares? So I still feel like a little bit of a loser, but
Well, my daughter just said the other day, she's like, ah, she looked at me with disgust. She's like, a 43-year-old man still watching Marvel. I was like, ouch,
yeah,
that was low.
that hurts. That's not nice. Uh,
But I don't care. Whatever.
yeah,
I'm gonna do what I want to do.
that is mean.
Yeah.
That is so mean. Well, I also wanted to say, if you're a James Bond fan, the 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 movie that's been put off for a couple of years now is actually coming out on October 8th in October. So that's exciting. There's actually a lot of movies, and Disney did make the announcement because Shang-Chi was so successful in theaters that all the movies now are going to be released in theaters
Mm.
exclusively first. Now, this is not going to be this hybrid
Yeah.
streaming thing. So,
Yeah.
hey guys, sorry to burst the bubbles, but if you wanted to watch Spider-Man or the Eternals or anything like that, you're watching it in the theaters. So you better get
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
You better be used to. You better stop being afraid of COVID.
Exactly. Wear your mask.
Yeah, get your
Exactly.
mask
Bring
ready.
your mask ready.
Yeah.
Of course, Roper went to go see Shang-Chi, and he said he really liked it. So that means it's probably awful.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. So like,
Yeah.
again, we'll see. We'll see. Did he redeem himself with his movie criticism? All right, Big Meat. So that's good. That was a quick hit on entertainment. Again, we're just getting back from vacation, so we don't have a lot of insight on things. But don't worry. You know, Big Meat will be spending his professional time reading everything on Screen Rant, and he'll give you more downloads on things. And
Absolutely. There's a ton of movies coming out from now until the end of the year, so it's
yeah, well, that's why,
a
like I
great
said,
time. Yeah,
if everything's
lots
gonna
of
be in the
stuff
movie
coming out.
theater, we're gonna be, which kind of hurts because I just finished my entertainment center in my basement, and no more movies being streamed. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
well,
that sucks. I just did this because I can watch movies in my basement now.
Well, I finally just finished watching Cruella that you recommended a month ago. Now that it's on Disney Plus and I don't have to pay the $30 premium fee.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually watched it on the plane coming back from Tampa. So I said, there you go. This is my opportunity to watch Cruella. And it was good. It was good. I know exactly now what you guys mean, especially Jarvis. He recommended the music. He likes the music. He's like, that's what makes a movie with him. As long as it's got good music in it, it doesn't matter. You can have Nicolas Cage in it, and he'd still love it if the
Let's
music's
not
good.
get carried away. Let's not get carried away. So.
But I could see what he meant. A lot of music in it, and it's not like, it wasn't like Disney music. It was like real songs from like the '60s. So
Yeah.
and so it was, but it was just one scene after another, and it was like playing in the background. I thought it was maybe almost a little bit too much, but yeah, nonetheless, it was good.
It was dark for Disney and very intense visually. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
for a story that you think is like a kid's movie, was really adult themed and fast paced, but it was so well done. I got to say, I actually was kind of reluctant when they said they wanted to watch it, and I sat down and I'm like, this is probably one of the better live action Disney kind of like
Yeah,
makeovers.
it was. I agree.
That I've seen. So and again, like just like as Jarvis said, the songs they selected were so perfectly selected that fit the scenes of each part of the movie. And I was like, man, it really does make the movie. The soundtrack was killer.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go to more exciting things. You got to see him live make his debut. I watched it at home. I was very excited to see we got rid of Cam, and the era of Mac Jones has finally arrived in New England. And I don't know, like I walked out. After that game was over, I was disappointed in the loss, but I was very excited. There was a lot of hope for what's out there, the potential that's going to be there. Not that he was like, oh my God, he's the MVP or like he did anything, but he looked competent, and that made me excited. I'm like, he looked like a competent kid, and I think there's something there. I feel like there's something there. So I don't know how you felt watching it live, like how the crowd reacted to him, but you have better insight because you were there to see the fan reaction to it. So
I thought he looked good. I don't think there was sometimes he looked like a rookie. It looked like he was his first game there. He got hit a few times where he probably should have like threw the ball away or whatever. But it wasn't his fault that they lost. At the end of the day, it's his first game starting. He's a rookie. I mean, we all remember, Tom Brady's technically his rookie year was really his second year. It wasn't like he was, tearing it up stat wise, right? Peyton Manning's rookie year, I think he led the league in interceptions. I mean, you're going to get those growing pains. You just want to see the bright side of things, right? You look at a player and it's like, all right, we got something here. He looks like what you said. He was competent, right? He was moving the chains. He looked professional. He looked good out there. Even when he threw his first touchdown pass to Aguilar, like he's running off the field and Aguilar's trying to give him the ball and he's like, nope, you take it. And he's like, you take it. And it's like, he's not letting the bright lights, like being on the stage of the NFL, overpower him, right? He's not like, oh no, I want this ball because I want it as a souvenir, as something I can remember. He's like, nope. It's like, we just scored one touchdown. We didn't win anything. Let's just go back and like focus on the next drive, And so there's a little bit of maturity there. And I mean, it was terrible at the fumble at the end, right? That was like kind of gave the game away. I mean, there was 2 minutes left, and I think they got like their first down. They're driving for a touchdown or at least get a field goal to win the game. That would have been a nice first win for him, but it didn't happen. It wasn't his fault. But from what I remember, like the crowds around me, what they were saying as we were walking out of the stadium, they all were saying the same thing. They're like, hey, at least Mac Jones looked good. Like everybody was excited. They were happy to see what Mac Jones was able to do in that game. So it's a bright future. And, Miami, that secondary is like, they're good. They're one of the better secondaries in the league. So, you couldn't expect him to just kind of throw, 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. But he looked good. Not great, but good.
I agree. And there was a play I was telling one of my friends, we were talking, and he's a big Buffalo fan, and we were just talking about each team. And I remember there was a play, and I don't know if you were able to catch it live, but on TV it stuck out to me, that he threw the ball to Jonnu Smith in a crowd. And Jonnu Smith is so quick. He caught it. It was a perfect pass, and he exploded out of the crowd and was like, he got more yards after the catch. And I was thinking, like, I saw the potential of Jonnu Smith there. I was like, wow, there's something there. Like, that kid is quick. Once they get into more of a rhythm. I know they don't have the greatest receiver. I think they had Ty Law on 93.7, and he was like, yeah, even with Brady was here, he doesn't have the best. That's a tough receiving core to make look great. Like, he was kind of knocking the receiving core, whatever. But I don't think they're gonna suck. I look at the team, I'm like, I think they can win some games. I mean,
Sure.
Are they gonna go to the Super Bowl? That's asking a lot from any team. Like, it's a rookie. For him to get to the Super Bowl, that'd be pretty damn amazing. But that defense, they had some growing pains, but they looked good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you say that, right, with the defense, because it wasn't so much Mac Jones. Like, I mean, we're all looking at Mac Jones like, oh, what can he do? What can he do? And I thought by the end of the game, he delivered for what you expected him to do. Who didn't deliver, I thought, was the defense. I thought the defense, like, at times, like that first drive that Miami just marched down the field and scored, I was like, wow, that was ugly defense. They just kept, like, first down after first down after first down. I was like, where's this crazy defense? Who was it? I think it was Rodney Harrison. That was basically like the front seven of that defense is supposed to be like the strength of the team, and they just looked average. He was just like, they just did not look good at all. And I agree. They looked slow. They didn't look like they were putting a lot of pressure on. So the defense was a little disappointing. Another disappointment, especially after that first run with Damian Harris, where he ran for 35 yards. I thought, like, when he ran that, I was in the stands thinking, they're gonna run for like 200, 250 yards in this game. Like, all the running backs. Like, they're just gonna run, and it's just gonna prove that this is gonna be a run-first offense, and they're gonna dominate. And they just kind of disappeared a little bit after that. It was like after that big run, and they didn't even get a field goal. They didn't get any points off that drive. He just ran 35 yards off the first play of scrimmage, and they didn't even get any points off of it. So it was like after that, it's like your expectations were high, and then it just like they came crashing down by the end of the game because it's like, oh, like, where's this big running game? Like, that's supposed to be what the strength is. And I don't know. I thought Harris still looked good throughout, but the fumble at the end killed them. I think Ramondre Stevenson, he also fumbled earlier in the game. It was disappointing.
I think once that fumble from Stevenson happened, I felt like to your point, I felt like there was some air let out. It's like, oh, like something happened with the team that, like, it just seemed to impact the team a little bit. But again, even as bad as the defense, like, there was better expectations. I always feel like the Patriots start off slow anyways. I feel like you're that team that just, after a couple of weeks, you're kind of nervous, and then a gear turns on in October, and then they just there's a run. Now, again, can that happen without Tom Brady? I don't know. I think Mac Jones is going to have to win him some games, but I think given a couple of weeks, I think that defense is going to be helping him out, like giving him better, like making the game closer for him.
I think so too.
Taking some pressure, because if that defense sucks, then Mac Jones is screwed. Because if you're going to expect this rookie to start making comebacks, playing from behind all the time, that's a lot to ask for a kid.
Yeah.
To be under that kind of pressure. So I'm not really worried yet. I think it's only week one. I just didn't understand. I actually got so mad at sports radio, and I know if our boy Jarvis, aka Felger, was here, his favorite talk show that he listens to and that radio station. But I was like, I'm done. Like, this afternoon show was so dark about the Patriots, that how everybody should be worried, and if they lose to the Jets, the season's over. And I'm like, what? Are you guys just negative for the sake of negative? Like, I mean, I'm like, what the hell are you guys talking
I saw
about?
that too. Yeah. It was Felger and Felger and Holly on Boston Sports tonight?
No, this was on the radio itself.
All right, because they talked about it on Felger and Holly as well. Yeah,
I think it was actually, it wasn't even the Felger show. Like, they were negative, but then it got into the Adam Jones show, and I don't think it was him on. It was someone else covering for him. And I was like, what are you guys talking about?
I remember they were saying, I think it might have been, I think it might have been Adam Jones that, like, was brought on as a guest, and they were talking to him about it too, because they said, is this a must win for the Patriots in the second week against the Jets? Right? Another divisional game. If they start 0-2, now they're 0-2 in the division. Is it a must win game? And I think, like, Felger and even Holly, they were both kind of leaning towards, like, yeah, it's a must win. Like, if they don't win this one, the season's over. It's all done. And the guy who they had on was like, what are you guys talking about? Like, it's a 17-game season. You're talking about start of the season 0-2. You remember when they started 0-2 was back in 2001 when they went on and won the Super Bowl. I mean, it's like the season's not over. It's just it's a young quarterback. It's a growing page. You got to go through these things. Should they beat the Jets? Yes. Will it be disappointed if they lost? Of course. It's not a must win. It's a long season. There's a lot that could happen.
So they were, I mean, the reason I got angry was just they were like, oh, Mac could have done better. Like, I don't know what people were excited about. And I'm like, they could have won that game. It was a last-minute fumble that cost them the game. It wasn't as if they were behind all game and they had no chance to win this game. They were winning the game, and they did a lot of, I think they had a lot of penalties. They had a lot of like weird shit that is so uncharacteristic of the Patriots happen. Yeah. And they're like dumping on Mac Jones. And I'm like, what the hell game are you guys? Did you even watch the game? Or is this, hey, it's talk radio. We want the clicks. So we're just
that's all it is.
We're just going to throw these hand grenades. I felt like I was talking to our, again, sometimes those shows are just like, click, I'll go put a podcast on. You guys are morons.
Well, Felger is just he's famous for that, right? And Maz just kind of like tags along with whatever Felger says, right? He's like a
call him Iago, the fucking parrot from Jafar.
Felger's puppet. That's all he is. Yeah. But Felger, that's what Felger does. He and a lot of people do this, especially on the radio, and then also like the talking heads, like the Max Kellermans and like all those guys. Like they all just spew out random nonsense. It's like if their name isn't in the media for a while, they end up saying something so ridiculous that their name now comes back in the media. It's like, oh, now I'm relevant again. Yeah. And I think that's how I look at that. That's why I don't get worked up over stupid things that people say because they don't believe it. They're saying there's no way somebody who's been around sports their whole life, like does this for a living, talks about it 24/7 to say something so ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense. That's why Felger is just, for me, it's like, whatever. He's entertaining. He's a smart guy to listen to, but yeah, what'd you call it? He throws these hand grenades, right? And it's like, you just shake your head.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, now with podcasts and everything, there's so many options to listen. I don't need to listen to your crap. You know what? You need to make your rating. I know it's your job. You need to make I don't need to pay you. I don't need to listen to your sponsors. I'm going to a podcast. Mm-hmm. Screw this. Because I look, there are certain things you get to the point like, if I really wanted to be negative all day, I would just go put CNN and want to blow my brains out because everything in the world is doom and gloom. So I don't want that in sports radio. Like, it's like, does everything have to be doom? Like, oh my God, they're at the end of, how many times I've heard the Red Sox are not going to win and then they win the World Series. It's like, dude, shut up. I remember Glenn Ordway coming on the radio, who's supposed to be this big basketball guy. The Celtics need 7 years to rebuild. And then like 2 years later, they were in the freaking championship. Yeah. I'm like, I guess you don't need 7 years. Like, I mean, you guys throw these statements out like you're so smart, and you're like, you sound like idiots. Like,
I can understand more than 20 years ago when like Callahan, like I still remember the article he wrote in the Herald, and it was Loserville. Right. It was like, oh, come to Boston if you want to lose because we haven't won anything in like forever, in 20 years or something.
Oh, I get that. Yeah.
And it was like before the Patriots Super Bowl, right? Because like before that, it was the 86 Celtics. The Celtics had their run in the 80s, whatever. But it was like, 15 years since any Boston team has won anything. We all know about the Red Sox, right? Since 1918. Patriots never won it at that point. The Bruins didn't win it until early 70s. So I can understand that. But the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of success. Like it's a different era now, the last 20 years than it was the previous 20 years. So yeah, you can't look at it and just be like, doom and gloom all the time. It's like, yeah, Boston sports teams have been successful.
Yeah. No, it's funny because if you were a Bruins fan, and I know like Felger is one of the main guys that talks to Bruins more than any other show. I swear to God, you would think the Bruins have never made the playoffs the way he talks about the Bruins. Every time I listen to the Bruins, like he makes me feel down and out on them. And then I'm watching the games or I'm watching this, I'm looking at things up and I'm like, wait a minute, they're winning. Why is everything so negative about the Bruins? I never understand it. Like he makes you want to hate the Bruins and hate everything about them. And they're like, oh, they're in the playoffs. And then he's all fired up about the playoffs, how
Yeah.
it's the best. And I'm like, dude, you spent 6 months telling me to hate them because they. So, anyways, that's
Wait a
just
minute.
little
Are we talking about Felger or Jarvis here?
a little bit of both.
I don't know. It's like it's kind of blended in together there, and I was like, wait a minute. I forgot who we were talking about. Who we're talking?
Well, you know what? If
Because
he
a
was
little
here,
bit of both.
he would just say, "Well, you're a take snake." That's his rebuttal to the Felger charges. So it just pisses me off. But basically, he's calling me a take snake, and his favorite show is the King of Takes. Like just these bullshit things. Anyways, I'm on a tangent now. See, I'm getting fired up about it. I'm not going to sleep tonight. Now
Jarvis isn't here to defend himself.
No,
so
we'll save it. We'll save that because he'll tell us why he loves this boy. All right. Let's move on to fantasy because it's still early to bash the Patriots. Again, most importantly, Cam's gone. Mac Jones era has started. I see a lot of upside. So screw the talking heads. All right, fantasy. Now it was an interesting week one. There were some big names that surprised us. No, they weren't big names. There were names that surprised us in the stat categories, and then there were some guys in fantasy that were big names that really broke a lot of hearts. Mine was one of them. And I shouldn't have been shocked by one of them, but I'll mention him later because he reminds me of my most hated actor. I should have known better. But
That's
anyways,
right.
big meet. It was an exciting week one. I know your fantasy team just missed winning, so that I know that hurts.
It hurt.
That's hurt.
Yeah.
I squeaked out a victory and I'll say it, out of pure luck. I had a good week except for one shit player. And luckily for me, I happened to play the guy that had the lowest points that week. So, that happens in fantasy. Sometimes you just get lucky and you play the guy.
It balances out.
Yeah. Because, I'm going to get screwed. I'm going to lose by half a point at some point. So I know the fantasy gods will get me next week for this, for that victory. But what was your biggest fantasy surprise? Like what stuck out to you, like a player that came out and just really surprised you?
They had a great game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'd like
you had like question marks, like someone that you were like, yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know if I would have drafted him. I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
But now you see him, like you regret not drafting him almost.
I'd like to say Joe Mixon. Mixon actually had a good game.
Please say it. Please say it.
He had a good game. He had 29 rushing attempts. It's a lot of rushing attempts. So they fed him the ball for sure. And scored a touchdown, had 127 rushing yards, and 23 receiving yards. So he was good. He was good. I don't know if he was the biggest surprise. I kind of expected him to be like good. I don't know. I think we bashed Mixon a little bit too much just because of his history. But I think he's on a better team now. Who knows? I don't know. So I don't know if it's.
Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy like the other people that you hype. It's one game. I'll see it when I believe it, but I appreciate it. I think where he was drafted in our league, I got him at a value. But if he was taken, I still don't see him as a first or second round pick like guy. He's just not.
Yeah, but I like the volume. 29 carries, it's a lot. Like when you give a running back 29 carries, he's going to end up with a lot of carries if he stays healthy. That's the big question mark there. But so I do like him. I don't know if he was the biggest surprise though. I mean, you kind of have to lean almost towards Jameis Winston, right? I mean, guy threw 5 touchdown passes. He didn't throw a lot, but that was my biggest fear with New Orleans is because I didn't like Kamara, and Jarvis took Kamara before me, so I didn't have a chance to take him. And now if he took Jones, I would have been forced to take Kamara, but I just didn't like the whole Jameis Winston factor there. Now after week one, granted it was against Green Bay and they looked terrible. It's not like he threw a lot. He just kind of seemed to like be in the right place at the right time, I guess. But to throw 5 touchdown passes, but it's 5 touchdown passes. It was a great day for him. And if he can somewhat keep that pace up, even close to it, Winston could end up being great for them. And that means Kamara's going to be great. When Michael Thomas comes back, he's going to be great. I think maybe they don't miss a beat, with having Winston in there. If he could, go back to his rookie year in Tampa was probably his best year. And then he kind of like went downhill since then. But he was a number 1 overall pick.
If he can keep the turnovers down, I would say that's the thing that kills him. Like he throws for a lot of yards, and that's something we all said. Like we wouldn't take Kamara if Winston wasn't at the helm. Like I would have been like, nah, I don't want anything to do with New Orleans. I just don't trust that what that offense is going to look like. But we did say if Jameis Winston is the quarterback, they're going to throw. So and Kamara is a receiving back, and that's something that's going to be interesting with them. So he's another guy like Mixon. Well, let's not get too excited, because would you be shocked when next week he throws 3 picks and 1 touchdown? Probably not, because it's Jameis Winston. So.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Yeah.
So I would say the one guy that stuck out to me. So you brought up a good point. There was a guy that I avoided like the plague, and even though they kept on saying he's going to have a lot of volume, but David Montgomery looked really good.
He did.
As a running back.
He did look good. Yeah.
And he gets a lot of volume. And I was like, man, he's a bruiser back that you could have got for value. Yeah. Like, when did he go in our league? Was he 3rd round, or I can't remember?
No, not that early.
Was he 4th more? Was it 4th?
He might have been 4th. Yeah. I'll have to look it up.
But that's value. I mean, to get a back that's going to get that kind of volume, everybody kind of stayed away from him. And I know some of the experts had him higher ranked than what we thought of him. But
end of the 3rd round. He was 30th overall. So right before the 4th.
Okay. So that's not a bad value pick, because some leagues had him going in the 2nd round, some experts. So to get that kind of guy with that kind of volume, if he can stay consistent, that's a good back. One guy that stuck out to me, though, that I stayed away from because I was so afraid of his injury, and he looked good, is Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I might regret.
He might be, I think he's legit. I think he showed it last year through those first 4 games or so, where he was like on pace to throw for like 6,000 yards. I think he might have been on pace to throw for 7,000 actually. And then the injuries, and then if you watch Hard Knocks, you get the shoulder injury thing.
I wish I didn't watch Hard Knocks. It scared me, because I was like, oh man, what if he's hurt and like 400 yards?
And they throw the ball a ton, and it was and related to that, I ended up taking Allen Robinson in the 4th round, I think, and I had either him or CeeDee Lamb, and I went with the guy like that's a little bit more of the veteran that's been around. Man, I'm kicking myself now. I wish I took CeeDee Lamb, because CeeDee Lamb looked great.
Yeah, and we watched it live, so I know we're saying it because we're like, oh well, you were there. No, when you were watching it live, Dak looked good. Like, and he's got weapons. Like Cooper had a monster game. They still have like CeeDee Lamb. I know Gallup just got hurt, but they throw the ball. I mean, I wasn't happy about Elliott. He was a disappointment for the Dallas team. But again, it's tough he threw 400 yards and scored 3 touchdowns against Tampa Bay, which is considered one of the top defenses in the league. And he had a really successful first game against them. So,
and he almost beat them.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn, that's a guy that I pleasantly surprised that he's that healthy and no rust. Looks like he just came out of the gate swinging, like he's ready to go. And so that's a guy that I'm really kicking myself in the ass for not taking. But
instead, you took your biggest disappointment.
We're going to go right to the biggest disappointment. Yeah. So the fears that we had, and again, I can say that I got caught up with the whole, I got Devontae Adams. I wanted that 1-2 punch. He was the MVP. I just convinced myself, even though all the shit I talked about him, I convinced myself to take him from Jarvis. And that was the bright spot. Taking him from Jarvis was like a highlight. Like, can I steal him from Jarvis? And now I've never regretted a pick as much as I've regretted taking Aaron Rodgers.
You could trade him. You could trade him to Jarvis. I'm sure he'll take him from you.
He will. Jarvis asked for everything under the
Yeah. He's slowly morphing into Roper a little bit.
Yeah. Well, some of it's not unreasonable, but it's like, dude, it's the first week. You're basically asking me to trade. Like that's like an epic trade. Like after, let me just get the dust to settle first. But
it's still licking your wounds.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm trading. I'm like the way I'm negotiating with him. It feels like I'm the one desperate for the guy. I'm like, no, you're the one that wants him. I should be the one with the leverage asking for more because you want him, not because I want to get rid of him. Like now this week, it's like I can understand. Like, hey, I know you want to get rid of him. Like, let's get rid of this guy. But Like, not only does he look like Nicolas Cage, he's got that stupid look on his face. He looks like freaking Poe with that stupid hair, slicked back, long,
He looks
sleepy
awful.
eyes.
Yeah.
And you know what?
He looks like somebody that's regretting not retiring in the offseason. Like he looks like just somebody who's just like he should have just hung it up and just went on vacation with his new flame or whoever he's got going these days and just call it quits. And that's
He's not
it.
the only one that wishes he retired. I wish he got the Jeopardy job, and I didn't take him. Like I am so mad that I almost lost because he only scored 1 fantasy point, and he not only killed me because he's a bad quarterback, he killed Devontae Adams, right? And then he kills
Aaron Jones, my guy, my big disappointment. Aaron Jones,
2 guys that go in the top 12 in almost every fantasy draft. These 2 guys have gone with the hopes that the MVP from last year, even if he's not happy, you think he's playing for a new contract for next year. He's going to just show, hey, I'm just as good as Tom Brady. Like I still got it. And he showed up like he had no clue what he was doing. Like there was some sidearm throws, claiming he got hit in the nuts. That's why he threw that one interception. Who gets hit in the nuts and throws a pick? Are you kidding me? Like, don't you wear a cup? But knowing Aaron Rodgers, he probably doesn't wear a cup because he's Nicolas Cage. He can do anything. But oh man, I've never been so disappointed in a guy. Like
it was such a shock. You thought about like shocking players or whatever. Like that was a shocking win for New Orleans to beat them. What was it, 38-0? The score. I mean, wow. Like the vaunted Green Bay Packers. Like that's like to lose by that much to Jameis freaking Winston and to play that bad. I mean, I read a stat today actually that if Aaron Rodgers, his quarterback rating was like 32 for that game. I read a stat that if he threw the ball, every time he threw it in the dirt, he would have had a higher passer rating.
I heard that stat.
39. It would have been 39 instead of 32 if he just threw it in the dirt.
Yep.
I mean, that's.
I don't know if that was the Zolak, Burt Beetle and Zolak show, that's what they said. He goes, he could have just kept on throwing it in the dirt. He would have had a better passer rating. And basically, that's what he was doing, other than the 2 picks, which was what caused him to have the lower passer rating.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't even know who they're playing this weekend, Detroit. Okay, so Detroit, they kind of suck. So I would say I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and has this monster game. Like he comes back and throws for 5 touchdowns, like 400. I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's whatever reason. It just seems like Rodgers tends to do that. Like everyone's like all down on him, and then he comes back and has this like crazy ass game. So
yeah, they did say that this is who knows what kind of mood he's in, whatever it is. But they said historically, like I forget what the percentage is. When he has a bad game, he usually has a big fantasy week the following week. Like he has a good week. Like so, I hope you're right. As someone who has him and needs him to do well, I really hope you're right because
then his stock goes up, and then you could really trade him to Jared. Then he's going to be on the hot seat of unloading a bunch of guys for him. There you go.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he has a 5 touchdown week so I can get his bike. Because I told our third man, because he's playing Detroit, I'm like, I'm not trading him before Detroit because I don't even care if he sucks and he says I'm all set with Rodgers. I don't need him. I'll keep buried on the bench, but
you'll be playing Cousins.
I will be. I should have played Cousins. He had a better week, and we knock him, but there's so much damn talent on that team. And speaking of another guy that looked good, because it just kind of go back from the disappointment, but looking good is. I know this is going to make Mr. Roper happy because he has him and he's already starting to brag about it. But I was already telling people this. Matt Stafford and the Rams, that defense is legit, and Matt Stafford looks so much better and more comfortable.
He did
in the Rams game than I ever seen him look in Detroit. Like Detroit feels like it's always a train wreck, but he did look good. There's so many weapons for him to throw to. I don't think he's ever had this much talent around him. Like he's always had Megatron. He's always had one good player around, like for a few years, but never where there was 2 functional receivers, a good tight end, a decent back, but a solid defense that keeps them in the game. Like he's never had a defense that can keep them competitive in the game. He's always playing catch up. And we never really get to experience Matt Stafford in a game where they're in control. Like it's not like, I need to win the game. I need to win this game by throwing and make stupid mistakes. Ramsey looked so damn good on the field. Like, I was just blown away how good he is.
Yeah, he did.
I don't
He
even know
did
if he's
look good.
playing corner, because they were saying he's all over the field. He's not playing like a traditional corner position. They have him just moving all over the field. They said that's
Who?
something. Ramsey.
Oh, Ramsey. Yeah. I didn't really. I mean, I watched some of the highlights, and I just remember seeing like, wow, yeah, he does. Like, he had that one bomb like early on in the game, and then he had another like deep pass later in the game, and he scored that one. And so, yeah, I don't know, like where the other players were playing, but just in terms of Stafford, he did. I gotta agree. He looked good, and everybody was praising him, and the announcers were like, wow, like he just looked so comfortable. He looked so good. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe this could be like, a big year for him. And it wasn't like the Rams. I mean, I have the Rams defense, and I was like, I was like, really? That's it? I needed them to have a big game for me to win
All right.
this
Well, that's
past
some
weekend. And they didn't really deliver as much as I thought they would. But so I was more closely paying attention to the defense more than the offense. But then, Stafford kind of overshadowed the defense a little bit, and I said, oh shit. Maybe I should have taken Stafford. So,
right. But yeah. So Ramsey. So did you watch the whole game? They were talking about it on the broadcast.
bits and pieces.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were talking about it on the broadcast. He's not just playing man to man. Like, they were saying, like, he would just get bored because no one would throw to him. Like, so he just said, he goes, sometimes no one's throwing the ball to you in that section of the field. Sometimes you end up kind of like taking a play off because you get bored. And now they found a way to keep him more engaged. So they move him around. So he's blitzing, he's doing all kinds of things. He's just not assigned to the best receiver.
Yeah.
Say, hey, you got it. That's it. That's your job all day. So I just watching him. So again, hopefully you get a chance to watch your defense play. Watch the whole game. They looked. I'm jealous of you because the defense looked awesome. They looked so good.
See, I'm keeping an eye on like interceptions and fumble recoveries and that sort of thing, and sacks, and it just wasn't happening.
So this is why R3 left fantasy, because he wants to watch the quality of the game, not just everything in this scope of like fantasy.
I remember. It was David Montgomery, right? That's who they were playing against. I remember him. They were on the 3-yard line or whatever, and Montgomery got the ball and he rushed up the middle. And Aaron Donald, who's supposed to be like the best defensive player in the league, like, he broke a tackle from Aaron Donald to score that touchdown. I go, the one guy we said earlier, I wasn't a fan of Montgomery because of the offense. He looked really good. So then I was kicking myself for not taking Montgomery. And then I'm also kicking myself because I took the defense early, and the best defensive player on the team and probably in the entire league couldn't tackle the guy from scoring. And then I lose points for fantasy because he gave up points. And it was just a mix of like emotion that was happening. And I didn't like what was happening there, Azar. And it threw me off my game.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
He didn't have a big, again, because I had no skin in the game other than like from the Rams offense, but like watching their defense. Yeah, he didn't have a great game, but I don't know if it was a function. Montgomery looked just really good. Like, the line they were giving him great holes, and he was powering through it. It wasn't like he wasn't doing the Sony Michel dance before he hit the hole. Like, he was just hitting the hole. So I'm sorry for those fans of Sony Michel, but just. There was something about Sony when he did that stutter step, and like the Lawrence Maroney, like all these great backs of the Patriots draft always do like a little dance before they hit the hole.
Yeah.
Like Harris, I think Harris is the only guy that actually hits the hole full speed. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, hopefully he doesn't develop that stutter step like those other clowns did.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, the little dance step. All right. Well, from fantasy, it's only week 1, so without our third man to give his input, so I want to hold off and save a deeper dive into fantasy, because I'd like to do a little bit more segments of like who's the best waiver wire pickup. Because week 1, the kid from San Francisco, everybody was rushing to draft or pick up off the waiver wire. I don't know if he was the sexiest guy. There's a lot, because I know Raheem Mostert is out, but I really feel like they're going to do a committee backfield. Like, I just don't know if they're going to sell. What's his name? Eli
Mitchell. I don't know. Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So there's a lot of hype on him, and I listened to a lot of fantasy shows, and they're trying to determine how much money to spend on him if you're doing those type of leagues, and should you give up a waiver wire claim? And I don't know. I'm a little nervous that, it's just going to be a committee back there. There's too many people that are.
Yeah, you're probably right, but he did have 19 carries. So that's where you kind of look at it and say,
Well, because one of the guys they inactivated, they healthy scratch because they didn't think they needed him, and then Raheem Mostert went down.
Yes.
So he's not. There is a healthy guy that's going to be activated. So it's not like he's going to be in the backfield by himself and getting loaned.
That's true. Yeah. And I did read today that Jeff Wilson might be coming back sooner than they thought too. They thought maybe he was going to be out for the season, and now they're saying maybe half through the season.
Okay.
So he's another running back that's probably going to come back that saw some success last year when Mostert wasn't getting it. It was Wilson. So you're probably right there, but but it's one of those things where you have to jump on it. Like I put it in a waiver claim for him. I knew I wasn't gonna, I didn't get him. But you need to jump on it because he could be that running back that just came out of nowhere this year, like Antonio Gibson last year, or that guy James Robinson, or something like, right?
Well, Gibson was I drafted Gibson because there was a lot of hype as him as a rookie and the opportunity he was getting.
All right, maybe he's a bad example, but Robinson, I think he was picked up.
Yeah, Robinson's a
like you can always think of, like, there's always these examples over the years, but if he ends up being like that guy for the team, because like you said, it was Trey Sermon that they drafted in the third round. He was a healthy scratch. They drafted him high in the third round, and he didn't even play. And they put this guy in there who they're saying was drafted in the sixth round. So they're playing a sixth round guy over a third round guy. They must like him, right? They must think highly of him. And he went, and it's not like, he didn't perform. He had 104 yards and a touchdown. So he could end up being a nice surprise there. So it makes sense to put in a waiver claim for him to try it out. He could fizzle, but it's that risk. You gotta throw your hat in the ring to.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, especially if you need, I can see, because there's a player in our team, in our group. He lost a lot of his running backs. I get there's an urgency to try to pick up somebody, but I was thinking, you know what? Am I really just going to pick him up just to put him on my bench? Am I going to waste a waiver claim? Nah, I got enough running backs right now. Like, it's not worth chasing.
You can never have enough running backs.
Well,
never have enough running backs.
I always feel like I do this knee jerk and I chase week one, and then I give up and I drop someone, and then that guy I dropped 3 weeks later is like having, like, I regret I dropped him. So I'm trying to fight the urge.
All right.
The week one panic, because that's like my biggest fantasy mistake that I make every year is I drop players, and then I watch you pick them up, and then it burns me that he's having a good year, and I'm like, you know what? I did my research on some of these guys. I'm going to hold them and see what happens, because there's always like a diamond in the rough there, and sometimes it's good to have that good waiver for a guy that really, like Jefferson last year was a receiver that was picked up and just lit it up, right? Like So well, I'm looking for that rough.
Sure, but you might be holding out hope for a while now, and you're saying this because right now you have the first waiver priority.
Oh, do I finally have it? Because there was a little drama with our
Yeah, you're the first one because COVID boy, he has Eli Mitchell now, and he was the 10th pick, right, in the draft. You were the 9th, so now you moved up. Now you're the first waiver.
So you know what? So I thought that's how our league was set up, because I drafted 9th, and I was like, oh, I should have the second waiver pick. And then when I looked at it that day when everybody was making moves, I'm like, man, how did I get 5th? Like, what did I do wrong? I thought I'm like, maybe we did agree to a rule, and I thought it was resetting based on who won or lost. And I'm like, maybe it is changing every week. And
no. It was just something must have reset in the system. Like, I don't know why it does that, but it did it after, I think, when we updated the draft results, because once you put it, like, it just kind of like resets everything. So then you have to like rechange it again for the waiver, but it's all fixed. It's all like, we just got to keep an eye on that, so it doesn't happen again next year.
Yeah, hopefully not. And then like our combine boy dropped Thielen by mistake because he had his phone in his pocket and dropped. And I'm like, I'm playing him this week, and I'm like, I was ready to pick him up, and I'm like, wait a minute. like, why did he drop Thielen? Like, I'm like, did he break his leg again, or what the hell happened?
And you're like racing and putting in a waiver claim.
So I put in a waiver private, and then I was like, something's not right. So I privately texted him. I'm like, hey, dude, did you know you dropped this guy? And he's like,
oh, he didn't know. You told
him? He goes, I didn't drop him. I go, I would check your phone. I go, I just put in a claim. And he goes, I go, was it a mistake? He goes, yeah. I go, all right, I'll drop him. Like, I was like,
yeah.
So
that's funny.
I could have been a jerk and said, hey, well, you know.
I'm sure. I thought for sure like Roper would jump on. Like, hey, no, rules are rules. Like you drop him and that's it. He's fair game for everybody.
All right. So that's the rule of thumb for you guys. If you have a fantasy league and you do it through an app, shut the app, close out the app, just in case you're accidentally climbing a ladder and you poke your phone and you.
Yeah, I think I've done it. I think I've done it before. I remember a few seasons ago, I remember doing something and I was like, oh, shoot. And I think I texted everybody right after I did. I was like, I didn't mean to drop this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, I think what I tried to do, I remember trying to uncheck him from the watch list, right? You know, you could put players on like the watch list or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, I already have this guy on my roster, so I'm going to just uncheck it. And I clicked on it. And instead, it was like to drop him instead of like unchecking him. And it was like, oh, shoot, I didn't want to do that.
No,
so, yes, be careful.
If it was you, I would have been like, yeah, look at you. You dropped him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, yeah. Well, I would have probably done the same thing if it was you.
Yeah. It's fantasy's more cutthroat. But, yeah, it's only week one. You can only be a jerk later. I mean, I know Roper hasn't gone into silent treatment because he had a great week. You know, he's in the lead. So we know we're going to get some trash talking, some gloating. Yeah. If he loses week 2, we won't hear from him until Christmas. So
his three-headed monster of CMC and Mahomes and Metcalf, it's tough. That's a tough combination. They all performed well this past weekend. So
yeah, that hurt. That hurt to see, but it's to be expected. You know, and it's crazy that they were talking about CMC had like the most fantasy points from a running back. And I don't even think he scored a touchdown. I think it was all from.
Yeah. He had like 90 yards rushing and like 90 yards receiving.
Yeah.
It was like 18 points just from that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, and I think that might have been more from a PPR league where he was like 20 something points. I'm like,
oh, sure.
That guy's a machine. Like he's just amazing. I don't know how he does it. I miss him. I hate that Roper has him. I hate that Roper has Mahomes. Another player I like watching. And then you can't root for him. And Metcalf.
You like Metcalf too? Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know.
And I'm stuck with Nicolas Cage and his droopy, negative. You know what he's like? For those who listen to this podcast, you know what's the biggest pet peeve I have is when you're a superhero and you're always like doom and negative and like.
I'm like, mopey. You don't like the mopey superheroes?
The mopey. That's Aaron Rodgers is like a Hall of Fame MVP player.
Mopey NFL player. Yeah.
He looks like was it Tobey Maguire? Is that the guy that played Spider-Man? And right.
The first one?
The sport, right. Tobey Maguire is the first Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. When he was like the Spider-Man 3 when he was like
Spider-Man 3,
evil Peter Parker there. Yeah.
Yep. That stupid half closed eyes, like stone, stupid, miserable. I'm like, what did I draft? Oh.
The guy that you hated, and now he's yours. He's all yours, Azar.
I wanted one discount double check. It's all I wanted to do is just say, booyah, discount double check. Take a photo of it, have my kids video it so I can say it, send it to the group. And all I got was discount double choke.
I think one of two things is going to happen after this weekend. He, like I said, he comes back, has this phenomenal game, and all is well in the world, right? You're going to love him, and maybe you might even want to trade him to Jarvis and get a ransom for him. Who knows? Or two, he's really going to suck again, and then I think you might be forced to bench him and play Cousins in week 3, right? I mean, like you've done this before with like top players where you're just like, nope, I'm done with them. Like, why do I keep doing this when my backup guys are doing so much better?
I'm not
and you might even maybe not drop them, but I wouldn't be surprised if like you did trade him to Jarvis and like you were okay with getting like a good kicker for him. Like something that's really like nothing.
I'm almost tempted to trade him Joe Burrow for freaking Rodgers. I know if you're listening, I'm not taking that trade. Don't freaking send it to me. But if I get desperate, I may trade him to you for Joe
That's
Burrow.
what I said. Wait till after this week because you're not going to do anything before this. So after this weekend, see what happens. Like I have a feeling Rodgers is going to be great, but on the flip side, if he's bad, then I see you making a panic move. I see you doing something really like that's really going to shake up the league.
And before I go, because this is a kind of a dig back at Roper since he called my team the Pickle Bengals. How about that Mixon and Jamar Chase boy? How about those boys, huh? All that negativity, and he blows up. Mixon has a great game, and I'm like, Pickle Bengal, my ass. Now, did I start Chase? No, because I wanted to see what he was going to be like the first rookie, like see what his first week looked like. But he looked awesome, and I can't bench Devontae Adams, and I'm not benching Cooper Kupp. But I started thinking, I'm like, oh my god, if Rodgers sucks that bad, what am I supposed to do with Adams? Am I really going to bench Devontae Adams now? The number one receiver in the league, I'm going to bench him. Like, we could get screwed. And you have Aaron Jones, so you're in the same boat. You can't laugh at me. I know. Just as screwed as I am.
It's awful. Awful. I might consider, seeing what happens after this weekend. I might be. I'd say I trade Aaron Jones to Jarvis. You trade Rodgers and Adams to him, and like completely like just trade his entire team, and like we'll take all of his, scraps.
And I don't know if it's still the active one, but there is a trade offer where he wants Rodgers and Devontae Adams from me. And for Najee Harris and I think Herbert. I think that was his.
Oh, okay. All right. See, so like that's yeah. But that would be fair, I think. But wait till after this week, see what happens. Because if he ends up having a bad game, would he still want to do that trade? Probably not.
I haven't canceled it, so I'm holding.
Hopefully he doesn't listen to this until then. Don't worry, Azar. I won't drop this podcast until Sunday after 1.
So just I know we're going a little long, guys, but this is just fantasy banter, and this is how it is. You got to. It's more cutthroat than you think it is.
Hey, it's fun to have just to talk fantasy again. It's been a long season, a long year, so it's good to have football back.
Yeah, and Mr. Roper is back to being enemy number 1 again, and all is right in the world. And Aaron Rodgers is still the miserable shithead that he is. Anyways,
that's right.
All right, we'll leave it right there, Big Meat. Any closing thoughts before we just shut it down?
No, not really. We didn't really talk about Tom Brady at all, right? He looked great. My boy Tom that I got in the 6th round this year. I'm happy. I got a great quarterback. How about you, Azar? Are you happy with your quarterback?
I wish I had Tom Brady. That's why it makes him the GOAT. I got to say, he's more obnoxious. I've seen more posts of him with sunglasses, these ugly sunglasses, and I don't know what he's doing. He's selling his brand. I get it. It's just not the Tom Brady that I just used to love. I'm waiting for him to put on a stupid Cam Newton hat on. I'm waiting.
With his hair sticking out of the middle of it.
I'm just waiting for a stupid Cam Newton hat. He seems more casual down in Florida. Maybe it's just the atmosphere. He's more casual. Yep. But, I'm knocking him because he looks like he's having more fun. But I went down to that stadium. I had more fun down at that stadium. So maybe it's just Florida. Yeah. Maybe he's partying in Ybor City every night. We might have just missed him.
Maybe that's just what we got to do. We just got to move to Florida. We just got to move to Tampa. We'll become Bucks fans. We'll just, we'll be in a happier stadium. Like it'll be just, let's do it.
Well,
let's just do it. We could.
I don't have to become a Bucks fan. I'm already been a Bucks fan. I just had to endure so many shitty years after. I hate to say it, because Gruden took over and he had him for a couple of years, and he took all the credit from Tony Dungy because Tony Dungy built that stupid damn team that he, But anyways, I digress. That's just my little bitterness that.
Unlike Jarvis, the pink hat, where he's been a fan now just for a year and a half.
That's true. Especially when someone pointed out, he goes, your Bucks jersey is a champion logo. Like, when's the last time Champion actually had a jersey that was? Oh,
somebody pointed out to you when you were.
Yeah, I don't know if it was somebody was like, dude, that says Champion on it, right? Like that's an old jersey. I'm like, yeah, I didn't just pick this up off the shelf. I've had this forever. Like 20 years sitting in my closet on a hook. And didn't know what I was going to use it for. I got paint stains on it because I thought that's the only thing I could use it for, is to use it for painting.
Well, now we got firework ash all over our jerseys.
That's
My
true.
jersey's wrecked. And by the way, it was like the us old guys down in Tampa. You're wearing an All-Star jersey. I'm wearing a Teddy Bruschi jersey. It's like people are looking at us like you guys know like you're 15 years behind the times here, right?
Yeah.
Time to upgrade your jerseys. So, well, whatever.
We have
We're a
different things.
couple of old bastards.
Yeah, that's true. It showed. It showed by the end of the night when we were just like, we need a nap. I need a nap. I'm not going to make it.
That is true. That is true.
Like I said, the highlight that I learned is that if I have heartburn, I'm just grabbing a cold Mick Ultra and I'm sucking it back. It clearly offers instant relief.
Oh, shit.
Anyway.
All right, well, those are my closing thoughts anyway.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. All right, folks. As always, spread the word if you have anybody who's into fantasy. We didn't go really deep into it today, but moving forward, we'll probably go deeper into some fantasy talk. And stay tuned because we're gonna have some awesome movies that are coming out, and we're gonna have some great reviews and give you some great breakdown and some more depth about behind the scenes, what those movies mean for the bigger picture, especially for the MCU universe. All right, Big Meat. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you, Azar.
Bye-bye.